So, anyways, man, congratulations on your recovery, and thanks for coming out and hanging out with me tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's definitely been a journey. It really
Yeah,
has. It's been eye opening and life changing, to be honest.
yeah, it's one of those things that just you didn't know you needed. You thought you were living it up, and enjoying, have all being drunk or drugs or high, whatever it is. You know, you thought we were doing the cool, whether it be the cool thing or the thing that was um, just made you feel normal or whatever, for whatever, all the different reasons that people pick up drugs and alcohol. We, this is the way to live.
Yeah, I think it was just the whole part of getting past of that it's because it was scary before getting sober. You use drugs or start using alcohol from a young age, and you just get used to it. But
Yeah,
you always know. I mean, it's not right. Um, just you see, either your older family members that are sober and how they live their life and stuff, and you just get scared. You're like, you know what, you're not ready. And then until you finally are, what's the saying, sick and tired of being sick and tired.
yeah,
When you really get to that point that you try it out and you're brave enough to stick through it, and then once you're brave enough to stick through the first, I would say, 30, 60 days, you start realizing how much better things are and how much stronger you really are, and just how great life
yeah.
really is.
Well, yeah. I mean, just the feel, the feeling you get every morning, just not having hangovers or hurting or anything like that, or worried about what you said the night before, or if you, did something stupid, all that. It's just, that's not even the reason why I want to continue staying sober. None of those reasons. It's just, there's a whole nother life that I never knew that we can tap into.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of things that you can't tap into just because how we've said before that
Yeah.
you weren't available for them.
Yeah.
Being drunk or high um, really limits you.
Yeah.
Um, Either it brings in that like type of anxiety, or it just like kind of puts things on the back burner because your fix, whatever it may be, drugs or alcohol, that's what's important at that time. And I mean, we all know what's right and wrong in our brain, but it's what it comes down to, like, oh, what am I capable of doing right now? And most of the time when you're drunk or high, all you can really do is, or all you want to do, what's easy is just to keep doing getting drunk or high, you know.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring you on and basically just discuss, you know, um, the idea of the podcast, is that, or us sitting here is because what really helps me is the check-ins that we do in our groups. Um, and when we go to when we go to meetings and discuss different things, you hear your story and everybody. So I don't know if you're prepared for this. I probably should have told you, but you want to do a quick check-in?
Yeah, let's do it, man. So Brandon, alcohol and addict. I got today. I think I checked it earlier. I have 111 days alcohol and 90 days today. No marijuana.
Right on, man.
And yeah, man. Piggyback off what I had just said about us being available. I had just got a text message for one of my good brothers. He's working out of state right now, and he's just telling me how, like, his past mistakes and how he wishes he was in a certain spot right now, and how he wish that he could help people out and do all these things. Just just really anxious and stressed out, you know, but I just, I was available to him this morning. I
Yeah.
woke up, I was in a, good state of mind, which is like the biggest blessing that I get from being
Yeah.
sober is I have this clear state of mind to where I can use my wisdom from, all the struggles and, things I've been able to overcome and get through to help and, speak to my loved ones or friends or strangers, whoever it may be. But, it's just one of those things that we talk about all the time, just one day at a time, staying in our box, not having one foot in the future, one foot in the past, and just doing what we can control. And, um, it's just great to be in that position to where I can speak that honestly and, you know, to be humble at the same time. That's
Yeah.
what I got to tell myself every day too. Um, just to live one day at a time and not stress about things I can't control because, these last couple months have been tough, personally.
Yeah. I bet. Yeah. Uh, I have 213 days, I think. 213, 215.
Heck yeah.
I checked, but it completely, yeah, 213. Yeah. I completely forgot. And I was listening to you
Good stuff.
just in that, not even a minute long. But, anyways, I, yeah, it's, for me too, it's the mental health aspect of it, of being um, available, being aware, um, just, the daily feeling of I got things to do, and I'm not, because it's a burden to drink, it's a burden to do all those things, 'cause once you get into it to the level that we get into it, um, it becomes a thing that you have to do. Now you're planning your day around it.
Yep.
It's just it's just not a good feeling. And now it's like I don't have to I don't have to do anything. I just it gets hard, but I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it at all for what I
What we have now.
what we have now compared to what we did before. So um, the one thing too, um, why don't you tell us a little bit about you getting into um, the the drinking, and you said you're sober from weed.
Yeah, weed as well. Um, weed has. I'll start with weed because I definitely started, smoking weed and stuff way before I started drinking. Um, it was something that like has always like struck me in. Well, at a young age, it was like me and my brother's attention. And the only reason it really struck our attention was because my dad smoked a lot of weed, still
Yeah.
smokes weed, but we had found one of his bongs and stuff hiding in the bathroom. So it started turning in our minds, like, what does this, what does this stuff do? We know it gets you high.
Yeah.
Um, and I was only about 13 or 14. And, I so found the bong, they ended up moving and stuff. And then started getting curious. So now I'm like looking through my parents' bathroom and stuff, trying to find it and stuff, just because we're so curious. Even my older brother was curious at the time. And, so I found one of his little solo pipes, you know, I ended up smoking it and stuff. And like, I'm like, freshman year, 8th grade, something like that, like the summer between the two. And it was just like, that cool little urge to like do something I know I wasn't supposed to do. And then go over to, my sister's house. My sister's, a lot. My sister's 18 years older than me. My parents are, fairly older. And, she was being the cool sister, just, only do it in her house, supervise this and that. Well, obviously, I was able to find other ways to get it um, when I would go home and stuff. So I don't know. if because I know I wasn't addicted back then, but it was just something that like it kind of gave you that adrenaline rush of like being sneaky, doing going around and trying to get it because it was only like maybe a once a month thing because
Yeah.
didn't have a financial income or anything like
Right.
that.
You had no way to support the habit.
Right, yeah. Until I started driving, I would say like, 16, get my license and stuff. I was the first one of my friends to get their license. So their parents would always, hook us up with gas money and stuff, go get ice cream or whatever it
Yeah.
was after football practice. And, we would start, chipping in and start getting, little dub sacks or whatever. And I think that's when it really started becoming a problem when I started putting my school priorities and stuff on the back burner. And as soon as after football practice, I would we would go and smoke or whatever. And I think that's when I really started getting into these bad habits of um, using a substance to kind of like surpass like whatever I was going with on a daily life. I had maybe I was behind in homework or well, I was most of the time I was behind in homework and stuff. So like, what's the easiest way to forget about it? Go get stoned.
Yeah.
So that's definitely how I started using substances to avoid whatever was like weighing on me at the times. And then I didn't really get into alcohol really bad until me and the mother of my son broke up, and that was about 4 years ago. Yeah, about 4.5 years ago. Now that I think about it, and I had another good friend of mine. He was going through a breakup as well, and just not using what we know now as coping skills. We'd meet up after work and go get the cheapest bottle of brandy we can find, the
Right.
cheapest bottle of cola we can find, and pound it down until you know our hearts weren't so heavy or whatever it may be. But after that, um, I really just found the social that social part of two people with not the right
Yeah.
tools and stuff. And then you find out there's a lot more people who have the same problem of abusing the substance and not having the tools.
Yeah.
And you know so I would say that's really when it kickstarted, was that breakup and not having the tools, not leaning back on my faith, um, and my church and stuff to really help me out, not reaching out. And because I mean, during that time, I've been using weed the whole time, but now I found this new substance
Right.
um, that I would just come to find out that would get me in a whole lot more of trouble, put me in a lot more stupider positions than I would have ever imagined. Um, so that's really how I got started in you know my addiction, because once I started doing that and realizing, and we thought it was cool,
Mm-hmm.
we thought it was cool that we could finish a bottle or two in a night,
Yeah.
but it was it's so terrible now that I think back at it. And then my family in 2020, um, my dad ended up moving to Oregon and my mom moved to Kentucky, so I was like the last. Oh, I just my sister was also in Oklahoma, so I had no one really at home that kind of like knew my whole story,
Right.
that I could really like find comfort in. So I started, just hanging out with anybody who would, give me their time and stuff, and that would really just come down to who are we gonna go out and drink with when it came down to, because that's what everybody wanted to do, was go out and just drink socially and stuff. And obviously, me being around people who didn't love me, like genuinely love me and like love the position I was in and love what I stood for, that just dug me into a deeper hole, because I was never getting the real fix that I needed, which was someone to sit down with me and really like talk about what was going on. And you know, when I started this real serious journey of sobriety, that's what I got. I got
Yeah.
I got to go and sit down with a group of men and women who are actually trying to better themselves, and not just sitting down at a bar talking about what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna do this and that. we know how bad this is for us, you know. But until I got that fix of what I needed, which was, you know, sitting down, actually like opening up and being able to, you know, spitball and ping pong back with people who are in another getting right state of mind,
Right.
um, to where things really started to make sense for me.
Yeah, because you have all for the time I've known you, you've had a good head on your shoulders where you seem like you go after what you want. You know, again, I know you as as trying to, you know, learn those tools and stay sober. So it's different than I didn't know you when you were drinking,
Right.
but um, you know, there's a sense of there's sense of it that you got into like the way that most of us get into it. Like for me, you know, I never wanted the party to stop, so to speak. You know, I didn't understand why we had to have bad times.
Right.
I didn't understand, you know, if we're gonna go through bad times, I might as well mask it with alcohol. Now that's early on in my addiction, but as you get into it more and more, you know, I learned, you know, it becomes a dependency. For me, it did. You
Right.
know, my body depended on it, and so, um, but you seem like you have all the right tools and things that you need to go, you know, go and be successful at it, at least.
Well, I think just the consistency and the persistent hunger, you know, to stay sober, the thirst that we talk about, um,
Yeah, talk
to like,
about some of the things. Sorry to
no,
interrupt
no,
you, but I was going to say, talk about some of the things that have helped you stay sober. Think back to your early. I mean, I know we're less than a year, but both of us are in our sobriety. But think about those initial days of trying to get off. I mean, what did you do once you know, um, the initial like, oh, I got to get off. You know, making that commitment that day that you just said no more, and then continued on.
what really drives me in the first couple of days was, just that I've always known, you know, I've always known that this was going to come to an end sooner or later. But before, never honestly had the support system I do now.
Yeah,
So knowing when I came in to our meetings and stuff, that I was going to continuously have that support system, um, that's what really kept me going. Um, and, you know, being a father, having someone that looks up to you and that doesn't expect anything less from you, like your child, if you're, you know, a mother or father out there, you know, they don't expect you to go out and, you know, get drunk. They don't
right,
expect you to go out and get high and stuff. So having someone that expects, you know, greatness out of you, not another friend or something that expects you to, you know, to mess up and expects you to use, you know, because they've seen you do it for so long.
right.
Um, that's motivating, you know, because in a sense, that child believes in you, like
Yeah,
more than
they do.
anybody else.
Yeah,
Yeah, our kids believe in us, and, you know, think we're superheroes,
yeah,
and why not act that way, you know? Um, but going back to the support system, having people in your circle that know it's hard, but know that it, you know it's possible. Having people that are like a sponsor or someone that's already done it,
yeah,
it's obviously easy to look and be like, you know what, I can do the same thing. Um, but another thing that motivates me, um, I mean, it's just like the little things like we were talking about earlier. Like it's not a big deal, but in the beginning, it is.
yeah,
Not waking up and having those headaches, not waking up and not knowing what you did the night before, or thinking, shoot, all I remember is, you know, to this time frame,
right,
and then you look back on your messages or, you know, you see videos of you acting a fool. Those are the things that are going to motivate you in the beginning, and then the rest is going to come into that clear state of mind, that always being available, um, the health aspects of it. Because for a long time, I mean, when I was smoking weed and drinking a lot the night before, I'd go to the gym just so I can sober up a little bit. You know,
I would never do that.
I'd go to the gym because I was feeling like crap, and go sweat out all the alcohol from the night before. Um, or I mean, the weed was just such a normal thing to me. Like, just wake up in the morning, smoke before I go to work, just because I was just used to it in the mornings, or come home and smoke and acted like I needed it to go to sleep or something.
You have more days sober from weed, right? Than you do from.
No, vice versa. So weed was the hard thing for me. Weed was the hard thing. Alcohol, I honestly never really liked, but like I said, the social aspect of it was kind of why I kept clinging to it. Um, but the weed thing was hard for me, and not smoking anymore has made me a whole lot more productive, because I'm not taking all the time out to go get it, to smoke it, to
Yeah.
prep it, or whatever
Yeah.
I'm doing. And then being high, I can't do things as well as I can do high. Everybody, like, especially being in music, people love to think, oh, I can't write or sing, or
I can't be.
I can't
Uh,
as creative
yeah, creative. Yeah.
without being high. Man, that's total BS, man.
Yeah.
Man, think Steve Harvey said it. There's no God-given talent that needs. Um, how did he say it? There's no God-given talent that needs enhancement.
Right.
I guarantee you, if that's a God-given talent, it does not need any enhancement.
Yeah.
And that really stuck to me too. Um, and it just made me believe in what I was doing even more.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to tell you that one of the other things about you that I admire. I think I've said it before, but admire about you is that you're a young guy, and for you to see that that something needs a change, for you to see it even when your own dad doesn't, he
Yeah.
still smokes or whatever. Um, for you to see it, um, and to make the change, you're that's that's really good, man. I mean, that's not what most 20-year olds think like.
Yeah.
At least ones with addiction. I think in general they don't. But it, you really have have something about you that you're gonna make it far as long as you can stay clean.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the main thing, is staying clean, because my biggest downfalls have been substance driven, I guess
Yeah,
you could say, Um, and that's, another thing that I would always try to mask with a
right.
substance. I would try to find some other reason why this happened to me besides the fact that I was using a substance. Um, I can piggyback off of every, downfall that I've ever had, as far as, my family splitting up, as far as my immediate family, as in my son's mother and stuff. I could easily say that was due to weed, in having a clouded judgment. Um, my legal issues, I could, that's all substance driven.
That's obvious.
Yeah, yeah. And then I was in the military, and I skated by a lot of instances. Um, I popped hot on a drug test twice for marijuana, and the only reason they kept me in is because of my sober self, having a work ethic, having um, a good leadership. Um,
What you were like when you weren't using.
exactly, exactly. All of my accolades in the military and stuff, um, I was obviously sober. I did a best warrior competition without any preparation, and I went out and won it for my battalion and brigade, and then I chose to choose work over going to the state level, which was obviously another. I was smoking weed in between missions and stuff, so
Yeah.
I knew that I wasn't. If I went, I could have got popped hot, and I wasn't ready to give up weed yet. So I gave up, a great opportunity, which would have sent me out of country, would have sent me to a couple schools and stuff that I missed out on just because, uh, excuse me, I chose my substance over.
What branch of military were you?
I was in the Army National Guard, so that gave me a lot of leniency as far as because National Guard, you do your duty, 1 week in a month, about 3 weeks during the summer, but there's a lot of stateside missions that would go on in between during the month and stuff that I would love to hop on. And honestly, I would hop on a lot of the missions in between the months because I know I would miss the weekend drills
Right.
where they would possibly drug test you.
Yeah.
So I would always look like this, grade A soldier, always volunteering and stuff. But really, deep down,
It was because you
I was doing this because I knew if one, my work can't say anything because I'm going to go, I have military orders to go
Yeah.
out on this mission. And I knew if I did the mission and stuff for how, whatever it was, a couple days, a week or whatever, I didn't have to go into drill. So, it was a lot of like clouded judgment that was going on with my substance use.
Yeah, it's a lot of preparation into using.
A lot of stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a whole lot of that's not being productive. I wasn't getting the most out of my military career because I was trying to skate by and, be cool on the civilian side or, be cool in my drug use and not take my military career seriously,
Right.
and I think towards the end of my military career I really had two guys or two soldiers I should say. um, One of them, his name is Escobar, and he's one of my good buddies. He asked me because we got back from a mission, and he was my driver, and just had a lot of good bonding time, a lot of good talks and stuff while we were out on that mission. And we came back, and he invited me over to his house, and they were all drinking. I wasn't a big drinker, like I said, but I smoked a blunt before I had came in, and he was like, "Phillips, what like why do you smell like why are you high right now?" I'm just like, dude, that's just like what I like to do. I know I know I can get around it.
Yeah.
I know we're not going to go back in for X amount of days and stuff. But he's like, no, but like why do you smoke? And like that question really like landed on me. I was like, man, like he was the first person to ever really ask me like why do I smoke? Because everyone else, it was so normal for us. It was never that question. That question never came up. It was not why do we smoke, it was when are we gonna smoke.
Yeah. Well, that and it's such a common place in our world to, it's legalized now.
Yeah, especially in California.
So, um, it's just one of those things that you're right. The way he put it is completely different, and that is, yeah, but why? Like you want to
Yeah.
know why you did it. Not just
Hmm.
why you're high right now.
Yeah.
What? Why do you even mess with it? What's
Right.
your reasoning behind it? Probably because he's seen something good in you. And
Right.
like you said, you excelled in the things that you did do. So yeah, that's cool, man. How long did you serve for?
6 years. 6 years. And I mean, the only reason I joined was, I mean, to benefit, have my son have some college and stuff, have good health care and stuff. And I mean, we all those things, thank God, I made good relationships, and I was able to scrape by those hiccups and stuff in my military career to where I still got out honorably. Um, but if I could do it all over again, I would. I would do it sober, and I would get the most out of it because me being in for 6 years and getting out as a specialist, that's weak. That's weak. I got, I know a lot of guys who were, sergeant and stuff,
Yeah.
3, 4 years into it, and I had a lot of opportunities. I mean, shoot, the last 3 years of my contract, I was on a promotion board, but but
Never got it.
never stepped up to submit the paperwork because I knew what was going to come with it. I knew there it was going to have to be taken a lot serious, and there was most a chance. Not even like it was guaranteed, but there was a chance I might get drug tested.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was not ready. I was scared to give up my substance. I was scared to be sober at this age. I was scared to tell people no. I was,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't have the support that I do now, and having that support, it makes me fearless in a way. I can go out and tell people that I don't drink anymore. I can go out
Yeah.
and tell people that no, I don't smoke anymore.
Yeah. You drive a little crazier on the road. At least I do.
You're right. Yeah, you're not gonna get pulled over. And
Well, I don't drive crazier. I just, I'm just like, pull me over. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right.
Type
Yeah.
of attitude. I don't have to worry about it as much anymore at all, unless I'm speeding or violating something on the road. But um, see, how how long ago did you get out of the military? Did you finish up with that?
My contract ended this March of 2022.
Oh, okay, March of 2022,
March
and
of
then
2022.
you end up now. What does your work that you do now? That did it was it because of your military,
No.
or you just needed to get into something and
No.
started
So
working?
when I got out of AIT, which is job training for the military, me and my pop started a solar cleaning company, and that's how I got my foot into the door of the solar industry. So me and my pops ran that for a year, and my pops, like I said, smoked a lot of weed. So me and my dad were, smoking weed and stuff in the backyard, gaming all this, business plan. We were getting business coaching as well. Of course, this business coach didn't know that we were smoking weed on,
Yeah.
company hours, pretty much. So we weren't, I was really doing my best to be as productive as I could as a young entrepreneur and running this business because my dad was mainly the the financer of it.
All right.
My dad got laid off of his 24-year career in the the oil pipeline industry, and they gave him 2 years worth of salary as like kind of like you're
All right.
going away, like, cause
Severance.
yeah, severance pay. There you go. So started the solar industry that the first year running that business when I was 19, and my dad started my dad was going not going through a divorce, but had recently divorced. Oh no, my mom and dad were divorced when I was 13. So my dad had recently remarried, but like father like son, we love hard. So my dad always still had major feelings for my mom and stuff. So he was always kind of like battling things emotionally with the stepmom and my current mom, my real mom, I should say. And
My cur-
yeah, current mom. Yeah, that's weird. But so my dad was like, drinking really heavily in the mornings, like, a little bit extra brandy in the coffee, a little bit extra Baileys and stuff. And it got to a problem where, I kind of like said something to him like, "Hey, dude, like, can't keep doing this on my own. Like, you over here, getting wasted and stuff by 10:30, 10 a.m." And that really hit my dad hard. And one day he just, grabbed his fifth wheel and took off to Oregon. And so like I was left with this company which had, thousands of dollars worth of bills and stuff to be paid for. Um, and I ended up getting another business partner, and we did really well the next year and a half. I think that our second year in business, I mean, just as a young guy, we grossed 150K that
Mhm.
year, um, which was really exciting. And I ended up getting a DUI, and my business partner at the time either got scared from that, and he took off to San Diego and didn't come back.
Mm.
So I had to cut ties with that guy. But in the mix of all that, we had some insurance policies that were getting refunded to us, and there was quite a bit of money tied up to those insurance policies because we had already paid up front for them.
Yeah.
Well, I put the business on pause, so I was getting that money back, and he had tried to like get some of that money, thinking that I wasn't gonna, split it with him.
Right.
So like there was a lot of like stress and stuff that I ended up, falling onto alcohol and my substance addiction, which was weed. Um, and just kind of like dealing with that, and then I got into construction as far as electrical and stuff. I started going with some temp agencies and doing these solar projects, and I just stayed in solar, and so no, my current job was not from the military, but I've always just kind of stayed in solar and stuff. I made some connections and stuff. Like I got some projects and stuff from some military. Um,
Programs.
no, just military like buddies, I guess you could say. Some higher ups and stuff
Mm.
that knew people, and they would plug me in and stuff. So there was a lot of connection between the two, but it wasn't tied to the military. And so now I just do installs and stuff and solar sales on the side. But I still find that pride and stuff in my installs and getting my hands dirty and going out and leading a crew and kind of just the whole coordination that kind of falls back from my military
Right.
traits and stuff. Um, but yeah, do solar and I love it. If you guys need any going green, let me know.
Yeah. That's it's, it's just your dad was in the energy business and now you are, but in the new age energy.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, solar's kind of taking things by storm, but um so what are some of the things, what are some of your triggers that you deal with when you, because you still get the urge, like one of my biggest triggers is when I'm bored, when I don't have anything going on, when after work, when I'm tired, and I'm sitting in the truck driving on the way home from work, and I'm just not really listening. Those times where you're driving, you're not really listening to the radio. You're just kind of listening to the sound of the road. You're stopping, you're going. You don't know if you stopped at the stoplight. You're just
Hmm.
going through the motions of it. And I've caught myself a couple times go, oh man, it would be nice to have a bottle right now. And just go home, and especially like after a long week on the coming to an end, like on a Friday or something. But I get, and then I snap myself out of it,
Right.
where I just say, you know, um, where I just don't, even think about it. But helps me as well as the fact that I know how I feel right now, like how I feel at that moment prior to drinking. And I play that in my head and I say, well, I won't feel like that again. It'll be like this,
Right.
and so the other part of that is as we get distance from our initial sober date, when when we're not on, our backs up against the wall, we're just, we need to get sober. For me, it was for health reasons and a lot of reasons, but a lot of it was health. My body couldn't take it anymore. But, um, as we get distance from that initial day of saying, you know what, I'm done, to, 60 days in, 100 days in, 200 days in,
Hmm.
like I am now, I'm starting to use some of these skills, of, of of staying in my lane, so to staying in my lane and stuff, that and staying in my square, only worry, only trying to control the things that I can't control, helps helps me not have those triggers.
Right.
Because if I don't keep my side street clean, then I have those triggers where I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that, I'm stressed about this. I get into my, people call it getting into your head or whatever. So,
Right.
but like for you, what are some of your triggers, and how do you cope with them? Or are you experiencing triggers? Have you experienced triggers? What's your thoughts on that?
Um, my triggers right now, um, I really haven't been getting a lot of triggers, but I can tell you what like my old triggers would be, and occasionally I will get some triggers, but right now I've been doing really good. An old trigger would be boredom for
Yeah,
sure. Boredom was always the go-to to get high. Just
bored or
I'm
tired?
bored, so
Yeah,
let's go smoke some weed or something so I can get creative. You know, let's go. Um, stress, but we're always stressed. We're
yeah,
always stressed, and but that falls back into focusing on what we can't control. And one thing we can't control is when I mean when you get drunk,
yeah,
you're not in control anymore.
yeah,
You know, you're honestly not, and especially if you grew up in my day age where I mean, you probably even back then, you're pre gaming, and I mean, when
yeah,
you go hard,
yeah,
and there's a point where that light switch turns off, and you're not in control no more. That's someone else. So controlling what I can control is obviously main or first step is to stay sober. So that gets rid of that trigger as far as stress, because I'm only going to stress out about the things I can't control.
right,
And so boredom, stress, anxiety was always one, just to kind of like, you get those shakes or whatever thinking about, you know,
the things you can't
the
control.
things you can't control. Right. Yeah. And all that's really all it comes down to. Um, but, you know, I still hang around guys who still smoke and drink and stuff. And, that smell sometimes, that smell of marijuana, some people don't
Yeah,
like it, but man, I'll still stick my nose into a can,
yeah,
but now I can just enjoy it for that alone. I just like, what? I can just appreciate its smell, and that's it. Because now I know if I get high, that guilt is gonna like probably give me a panic attack because it's just gonna weigh so heavily on my chest that I'll just have a panic attack, which I never have gotten one before, but I figure I might now. But
yeah. You.
uh, but yeah, I mean, those are triggers for sure. I went to a wedding renewal, and the first thing I got when I walked into the wedding renewal was two shots with my name on it, and I'm just like, man, like, why?
Yeah,
So I, ripped my name off that thing and gave it to someone else, and I mean, it was really obvious, like, but I just put it around my little glass of well, my champagne glass that I filled up with water, and I was just waiting for whenever that toast was gonna come. But that was a trigger, constantly being asked, why I wasn't drinking, and then I'd give my reasoning, and then, so really, why aren't you drinking?
yeah,
You know,
yeah. That's the
I've
that
really,
sucks.
really not, um, really wasn't liking the person I was becoming. Really wasn't liking the person I was when I was drunk, and I really, really liking the person I am now that I'm sober,
Yeah,
because I can be way more honest with everyone than I ever was. So like I think like the things I say now um, are the things I always wanted to say when I was drunk and stuff, but I didn't want to be a hypocrite. You know, I'd go out, and like I said, I'd wanted to go out to be around people because my family was so separated. I didn't have that didn't have the balls to call them up and tell them what was really good. So I'd go out and hang around people, and I just sit there with my mouth shut, just thinking like, man, like this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing.
yeah,
But then someone would offer me a drink. A lot of the times I would go out with no money, and somehow get drunk or end up somewhere I wasn't supposed to. And yeah, being having a plan before I go in eliminates those triggers from being in those situations though. But boredom, anxiety, and stress are all triggers, but having the tools now definitely
yeah.
those triggers don't last.
Well, yeah. Just even knowing that you can recognize them now, and then like you said, having a plan for when you are put in those situations.
Hmm.
I don't. The thing is that I'm not around a lot of alcohol. Uh, Nobody in my family drinks. Um, I don't have a lot of friends outside of work, other than the guys and girls that I meet in the groups. But it's a lot. It's because I'm married, and I wasn't a social drinker at all. Um, I didn't. So it's it's when I get to it's when I really don't take care of um, things on a regular basis, seeking amends right away.
Right.
Taking care of any unfinished business, so that way I don't get that stress or anxiety about it. Handling what's in front of me. It's I don't know. There's no way to describe the feeling of of not needing alcohol. I knew one day I was gonna have to quit. Well, maybe I didn't, but I knew that my body wasn't gonna be able to take it for much longer.
Right.
So, I had to do something. And I've got um, you know kids as well. And just you would think that that would make you stop. You would think that I'm married to a wonderful wife who's you know doesn't drinks, never smoked, never anything. And um, parents, my mom and dad, neither one of them smoke or drink. You know, brothers, sisters, none of them. I mean, and I spend a lot of my time with them. I am very I am surrounded by a lot of my family all the time. They all live here. And there's a bunch of them. You know,
Right.
there's 6 to 7 of us, and I've got uh, everybody has kids except for one brother. So it's it's
Very
crazy,
cool.
that I sought it out, to go drink and do drugs. But again, it stemmed from, I guess, a lot of the similar things that you were talking about. But um, I guess too, not I always wanted to feel good all the time,
Right.
and then it just gets away from you. So
Well, I think that's a good point, right? They're always wanting to feel good all the time, and now,
sorry, that's my dog.
oh, you're good. Not feeling. We know that we can always feel good from our fix, from our substance, alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be. But now that we know that it's okay to feel bad,
Yeah,
and to actually recognize and analyze and figure out where that's stemming from, to reverse think and think about where did it start and why is that, instead of just going to that quick and easy, okay, I know what synthesis is,
yeah, yeah. And so that that's what I was telling you earlier about you. I admire you because at your age, with what you grew up with social media being what it is, everybody looking like they're having a good time all the time.
Right.
Everybody always putting their best foot forward.
Or
Um,
what it seems.
or
Yeah.
what it seems. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I mean, that's the best that they can look, though.
Hmm.
Best they can do. Rather be however they do it. But I have social media, but I don't ever post on it. I have Facebook. Heck, probably in the last year, I've probably put up more. I've only put up two YouTube posts, but that's about it.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot that I do. But you can see how people can get trapped in in the and always be being concerned and projecting, and in a way, in a big way, that's how I was. But
Right.
it was, when you would see me, when you would talk to me, it was,
Likewise.
yeah, it wasn't so much, online or anything like that. I didn't really care for it, what obviously I don't post on a lot of things because I also don't want them to see, private stuff, the bad stuff, all
Right.
that too. So, but I'm sure I have made a fool of myself. I know I had to have because it wasn't, you know, it's like the guy who says, there was that joke that they told about having sex with a chicken. So you ever have
Um,
sex with a chicken?
yeah.
And
He
he
goes,
goes,
"Well, have you ever blacked out? So how do you know?"
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just bound to have happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just don't know.
Made a fool of yourself.
You
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. You don't know. You weren't there. You were, but you weren't. But yeah. So I again, I just for you to have the self awareness, because what you're 25 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, to have that self awareness um, is pretty good. Now, yeah, you have a kid, you have all that, but there's people out there that drink that have kids.
Right.
I was one of them. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't. Um, it's just those are things that are there as telling you that you want to live a straight and narrow life. It's one thing to want to do it. How many times have you sat there and said, "Well, tomorrow I'll quit," or
Right.
I can't be doing this every day. I want to quit, and then as you take a drink or as you smoke, you know, smoke weed, whatever,
Yep.
it's just, um, I don't know. I get it does have to do our initial start date has to do with the situation at the given time, as far as like, mm, I'm on fire. I'm going to die if I don't
Right.
quit, or I'm gonna get locked up if I don't quit, or whatever it was pushing you to quit. Well, that happens, and then how do you sustain it? How do I live a life to where I'm not needing a substance? A big one for me too is my higher power. Finding. Um, well, I've always known that he's there. It's been me that's turned my back against him. Um, but you know, it just feels so nice because when I mean available, I'm also now available to him to where he
Right.
can see me because I'm not just doused in alcohol or sin.
That's a good point. Because I've always gone to church,
Yeah.
and for a lot of the times when I was in high school and my early adult life, I was going to my worship stone.
Yeah.
Whatever I wanted to make it seem right. I wasn't all the way there. And like I was too busy focused on the message to where about it might be revolved around sin or something. I'm just thinking all in my head, oh man, how I'm stoned right now. Now these messages, when I hear them, the forgiveness aspect of our higher power, it's so overwhelming now because now I can be completely honest with him and say that I'm doing all I can and I'm putting my faith in you because I'm not abusing my body anymore.
Right.
I'm not clouding my judgment. Um, I can put all of my faith into my God now because I know, like we say, we're keeping our side of the street clean now.
Right.
There's nothing I'm doing right now that wouldn't make God happy.
What a peace that brings, huh?
Right,
It's like,
absolutely. It's like, yeah, you know what? I can't control everything, but I'm gonna keep my side of the street clean. And if someone were to come look at my side of the street, they would say, "Hey, Phil, hey, Brandon's doing what he needs to be doing right now."
yeah,
Yeah, you know, 6 months, a year, 3 years ago, he might have looked like he was doing the right thing, but if you really looked at my side of the street, you would see all those cracks and the
yeah,
debris and stuff. And now,
potholes.
yeah, potholes. Now I'm over here. I'm filling up the potholes and stuff. I got the street cleaner coming in.
Yeah.
Coming in,
Cleaning up the
making the
gutters.
gutters looking all nice and stuff. So, and that's something that also is motivating. Like it gets you out of those quick triggers, gets you out of those stressful moments because it's like, what, if you can look back on your day and know that you did you followed your intent of, you know, handling business that day, then, you know, what else is there really to stress about? Like, you know that you did what you can do, and that's always
Yeah.
gratifying, you know.
Yeah. Just I think I think you're 100% in all that you said. You know. Um. All right. Well, we'll probably have you. I'll probably have you come back on again,
I'd love to,
and
honestly.
that way we can keep up in progress. And you know, hopefully it's still good. If not, if it's bad, then and you're good with it, I'm down to talk to you too. This is about the the life of recovery, and
Right.
recovery is not always is isn't is not always
Downhill.
yeah, it's not always you know, the people have bumps in the road all the time. It's just as long as you as cliche as it sounds, to get back up again, you know, if you get knocked down, you know, there's um the thing is there's always time for recovery if you're alive.
Right.
There's always time for it. You know, even in an institution, um, you know, that's what, you know, we're told, you know, all the time. Institutions, jail or death. And, you know, death is the ultimate. So as long as we have time on this earth, we can always recover. But I just, you know, appreciate you, and um, very grateful to have met you. You know, you've
Likewise.
become a big part of my recovery. You know, we say that, but only, you know, we know what we mean when we say that. That, you know, hearing your story, hearing other people's story that I get the opportunity to listen to.
Yeah, the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, that's the key word. But you know, it it's it's not my story, but it is my story. There's bits and pieces in it of things that I've gone through and dealt with that you have dealt with, and you know, it's just it's just it's awesome, man. It's pretty darn neat that we get together and discuss, you know, these things, and we do it in an open, honest way, you know, and without fear of repercussion. Now, this is the internet, so that may be different,
You know.
but but you know, I like, it goes back to keeping our side of the street clean.
Right.
As long as I'm doing that, I'll be okay with what anybody else to say. Like, they may say I have a funny voice, or I breathe heavily, or my stomach looks big. You know, they can say all that. I don't care. You know,
You
it
know,
is what it is.
honestly, this was awesome for me too, because I, besides our group, our awesome group of people that we have, I haven't been able to really come out and say, excuse me, come out and be so open about my recovery and stuff. Um, Now maybe that's because I wanted to wait, you know, till I had X amount of days and stuff. But like you said, you know, it's not always going to be pretty and stuff. And you know, these first 110, 111 days have already been so great to me. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I can't wait to see what a year does, what 2, 3, 4, 10 years does. And I'm glad that I was able to, because I need to share this story. Because, like you said, everyone else's story is their story, but it's also my story as well.
Mm.
Because, you know, we all kind of relate to each other. There's things that people can say that you want to say better than what
Yeah,
we could have
they
ever
have the
said.
words. They find it.
Exactly. And, you know, I hope that by us sharing and you creating this podcast is such a great platform for people who aren't ready to come out and, you know, maybe be honest with themselves, or, you know, come out and tell everyone else about their road to recovery, but it helps inspire other people. And that's what we need to continue to do, because, like we've both experienced, you know, our stories and our words really do help a lot of people. And it has been a privilege to meet you and, you
Yeah,
know, come on this show. I
yeah.
really do appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Heck yeah.